Salut tout le monde, welcome to our Chantology video where we will go over chants for the upcoming Sunday in the Tridentine Latin Mass. This Sunday is the 9th Sunday after Pentecost, and we will go over the Introit, Psalm 53, Ecce Deus. Let's go to the text right away. So the purpose of these videos is to give you tips and tricks on how to sing this stuff. Behold, God is my helper, and the Lord is the protector of my soul. Turn back the evils upon mine enemies, and cut them off in thy truth, O Lord, my protector. So let's get right at it. So per usual, let's go over the three pieces of the modes. So this is the chant is in mode 5, and the final, if we just go to the very end of the chant, sits on right here. But notice that our clef sign, typically we see it on the top line, but it can move around. So here's Do. Do, Si, La, So, Fa. So that is Fa. Our final is Fa. Excuse me, because I'm feeling kind of sick, or I'm recovering from an illness. So the dominant is the recitation pitch of the Gloria Patri. So let's skip down to the Gloria Patri for tone 5. By the way, in case I really want this as my license plate, but for some reason someone has it already. So this is, if you ever see this, this is Seculorum Amen. Seculorum Amen. The vowels. Seculorum Amen. So that's the final piece of the psalm tone. So here we have, let's get into the mode. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Skip here. Et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Do 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 do. So notice that the recitation pitch happens on Do. So Do is our dominant. And then the median is it's right between there. It's La. So if we just look at it really quickly, here's the final, or I'm sorry, here's the dominant right here. This phrase that ends on the final. Here, this phrase ends at the mediant. Because with chant, if you think about it, it has to land somewhere. This is like the wind, or this like a leaf blowing in the wind or something. We need to land at a destination. If you think along those lines, it makes singing the chants a lot easier. This one ends on the mediant, La. This one's really interesting, that it ends on neither of those. It ends on Si. And if you look at the text, it's really neat. Inimicis meis, my enemies. My enemies is on a dissonant sounding, you'll hear it when we sing it. It ends on a dissonant pitch. So this one also ends on a dissonant pitch, and then we end on the final and end on the final. So a couple things. So Gloria Patri, that helps you get into the mode. Another thing to get you into the mode are what are some chants that are in mode 5. Adoro te devote is really good. Adoro te devote latens deitas. And what's neat about this is that when you have the Do clef on this, I guess, third line, excuse me, and typically you'll see this flat symbol, which means that if it's right next to it, that means that everything in that space, wherever the flat is, will be considered flat. Now it plays tricks with our mind, this tone 5, because do 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 do. It's easy to think of it as, and it's fine. It's easy to think of mode 5 as Do mi so 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 la so fa mi re do do, because if we're former musician, or if we are musicians, that's what we're accustomed to. If we hear a triad, a major triad, Do mi so, do do do, we're gonna assume it's do mi so. But when reading Gregorian chant, it's important to note that that isn't necessarily the actual solfege that's given. It's actually, in this case, it's fa la do 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 re do si la so fa fa. I gotta think about it. So fa fa. So it does play tricks on you if you're reading mode 5. Another one that is in mode 5 gives you an idea. It's not necessarily similar to the chant that we have, but it has the do on the top line. But it's basically the same concept of having that major triad. Salve Regina, do 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 do. In this case, it is do. Do mi sol la so. So that gets you into the mode, at least that triad. So, anyways, let's get into the chant. Okay. So, couple things to note. These are really long phrases, and from what I've seen in some of these, the S's really do mess with us. So if you're singing with a lot of people, just make sure you agree on where the S's end as you're singing these, like Dominus. If you decide to break, if you don't decide to break, if not, est, will it connect? Technically, you should sing this through, no breath. Stagger breathe. So that's the first thing that I saw. Even S, U, S, Do. It's probably the text-wise tricky thing. A couple things also. When I see 2 horizontal emphysemas in a row almost, I always have to warn you, like, don't get stuck on these, because otherwise the chant will really drag. All right. Horizontal emphysemas are just touch and go. It's basically a stress. It's not a doubling of the rhythm. Do do ecce Deus adiuvat me. So in this case, you want to hold the first 2. Vat me. And the third one of the torculus is called torculus. When you have, it just turns. With the first two punctums of the torculus, you want to hold, like, touch and go, stress it. Vat me. Don't double it. Here we have a qualisma, so you want to hold this slightly, just stress it. Excuse me. Ne et Dominus susceptores ani. Right. So if I'm singing by myself, so I would definitely run out of breath if it was just me. But you gotta point this out to your crew, to your peoples. Don't breathe here. Just let's make it happen where this line can keep going. Est anima me. That's a really cool effect right here. You got this tristrofa. And if you have a tristrofa, you want to crescendo, get louder. Anima me. And that's a really cool effect with that horizontal emphysema over these 3. And you can definitely do some thesis action, arsis and thesis action with this crescendo leading up to this virga and then decrescendoing down. Really cool effect. Avete mala ini me. Now notice here, it's tempting when you see, actually I should have said it here also, on the do of Dominus and the mi of inimicis. You definitely want to make sure this is not a flatted note. Mi. It's easy to make that flat. Cheese me. So that's that dissonance I'm talking about. Let's look at the text real quick. Something along the lines of, turn back the evils upon mine enemies. Turn back the evils upon mine enemies. That dissonance is so cool with the text. So cool. Invetita te tua dispede illos. And this is where it kind of gets back into consonants, into sort of a realm of tonality where it just sounds right to the ear. Again, I apologize. My voice, I'm slightly sick. Here's the Salicus, so make sure we hold this, just touch and go. Protector meus Domine. This is a very long line. If you have more than one person singing, it'll make it a lot easier. Tell your people, connect this as much as possible. The us to the Domine. Breathe. Find somewhere to breathe. Either before that or after that. Probably before that. But it's always good to just make sure that this text flows and there's no stops. So that would be it. Pentecost 9, Introit. Thanks to Christ the King. Thanks to Institute Christ the King. Thanks to the Parish Book of Chant. I'm really looking forward to the next video I'm making. I don't know if I'll do it this week. It'll probably be next week. But if you're looking forward to it, it will be the question on what does Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, have to do with Gregorian chant. It's really cool. I read this book 2 years ago and found some awesome stuff on Gregorian chant in the book Les Miserables. All right. Thank you very much. Au revoir.